So we have breaking news. A judge has put a restraining order on Elon Musk and Doge. I want to go through the details of this and other things, and let's just jump right in. So this is the headline. Judge blocks Doge's access to Social Security systems with personal information, and also says temporary restraining order is the latest setback for cost-cutting group championed by Elon Musk. The details are actually pretty crazy when you read this stuff. I mean, this whole thing is crazy and it's hard to keep track of all of it. But I'm trying my best. And, here it says a federal judge on Thursday temporarily blocked members of Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency from accessing Social Security Administration systems containing personal information, saying their work was likely an illegal, quote, fishing expedition. So that's the phrase from the judge. What Elon Musk and they're doing and the Doge is illegal, likely an illegal fishing expedition. Also says the temporary restraining order issued Thursday by the U.S. District Judge Ellen Hollander in Maryland is the latest setback for Doge and Elon Musk, whose quick work to examine the overhaul federal agencies has drawn string of legal challenges. Right, as you guys know, they're getting sued for multiple employees. I had to think about it, like it's more than we can count. The last one was the USAID one where the judge is like, yo, you got to rehire all of these people. I mean, just the way that they're doing things, they're breaking all kinds of laws, and that's the sort of why, you get these restraining orders. Now, Musk and the team oftentimes try to ignore this stuff, but I mean, there's so much legal trouble. Let's just see what else it says. It says the order bars any Doge employees or affiliates, right? Anyone associated with Doge, including Musk, from accessing the agency's systems and devices. Okay. The judge also ordered them to delete all non-anonymized personal information they had so far gathered from the federal agency. And I know when you read through this, everything, okay, how would you prove that you deleted said things? How would you prove that, after you got what information that you got, that you didn't leak it to people who aren't supposed to have it? I mean, this is has wide, implications, and who's going to enforce this stuff? People always ask these questions when we go over these things. Right now, the judges in the courts are the ones that seem to be protecting democracy at the moment. This is the particular thing here. You can see it's dated March 20th, 2025. So this comes in. The plaintiffs are the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, also the AFL-CIO, and that's versus the defendants, Social Security Administration. So when you read through it, it's actually quite long. But I'll just say this: all the stuff that all of these, Musk's and Trump's people say on TV, say on social media, people write this stuff down. It's in the suit. You can see it right here, right? And we're watching this stuff. We're watching it live. It's crazy. Musk is even named in this thing, and I want to talk about how Musk is named. It says right here, Elon Musk, in his official capacity as, quote, senior advisor to the president and de facto head of the Department of Government Efficiency, the Doge service, right? So they're basically saying Musk is the head. Now this is in the lawsuit, right? Because the Musk people will try to say, no. Musk is not ahead of this. He's just like some sort of weird advisor thing. Because when the lawsuits come in, they're trying to get his name, essentially off the lawsuits. They don't want to be held accountable to this stuff. Guys, they got to be held accountable. That's why these restraining orders are really important. I mean, this whole thing is insane. So it also says in a 135-page opinion, Hollander said the Doge team failed to provide an adequate justification for its sweeping access to the personal information of tens of millions of Americans, right? So the reasoning that, Musk and the Doge team are giving for, why they need all of our data is just not adequate, right? So it's talking about social security numbers, dates of birth, home addresses, income, assets, citizenship status, medical information, and disability status. God, there's like so much stuff that they're going after. Here's a quote from the judge. It says, the Doge team is essentially engaged in a fishing expedition at the SSA, right? So Social Security Administration, in search of a fraud epidemic based on little more than suspicion, just that they think so, right? It has launched a search for the proverbial needle in the haystack without any concrete knowledge that the needle is actually in the haystack. That is very strong language from the judge. I'll read it again just so you guys understand it. This is basically saying Elon's looking for stuff that you don't have any evidence that it's there. Right here, I'll read it again. It says, the Doge team is essentially engaged in a fishing expedition at SSA in search of a fraud epidemic based on a little more than suspicion, right? It has launched a search for the proverbial needle in the haystack without any concrete knowledge that the needle is actually in the haystack. That's really important. The temporary restraining order is set to last for 2 weeks as court proceedings continue. Earlier this week, a different federal judge in Maryland barred DOGE members from continuing the access systems at the USAID, which we talked about. You can actually go further in this thing. It's interesting. The judge, or actually I should say the judge, the suit against DOGE and Musk also references how they're trying to keep their identities secret. I'll read it because it's important to understand that people are tracking this stuff and writing this stuff down. If you feel like that, no one's pushing back against Musk and DOGE, you're wrong. People are. Like, for example, it says, ironically, the identity of these DOGE affiliates, right? So that'd be the DOGE agents, DOGE lackeys, right? Has been concealed because defendants are concerned that disclosure of even their names would expose them to harassment and thus invade their privacy. The defense does not appear to share a privacy concern for the millions of Americans whose SSA records were made available to the DOGE affiliates. Do you guys understand the irony of this, right? So the DOGE people, they tried to hide their names, like the people working with Musk, because I remember seeing reports they would go into whatever government agencies and they would give a first name, not a last name. They wouldn't necessarily tell what their position was in the DOGE thing. And it's ironic, right? Because they're trying to hide their names, the DOGE people are, yet they want to get everyone's names, addresses, income, disability status, right? All this stuff on you and regular Americans. It's ridiculous. On top of that, and I just want to make sure you understand this all in context today, Trump was signing an executive order, trying to dismantle the Department of Education. And also, which I talked about in a prior video, they had this Lutnick guy who's their commerce secretary. He was basically telling people on national TV, you got to buy Tesla stock. It's awesome. We're all going to buy Tesla robots. You can watch my last video. You guys will see. I wish I were making this stuff up. Like, it's so ridiculous. It's so illegal. And these people are so brazen. The Democrat Oversight Committee is already addressing these issues. They're sending letters today, like today. This one was regarding Lutnick. This is the letter, again, from Congress saying, I write regarding Commerce Secretary Lutnick's March 19, 2025 appearance on Fox News. During this interview, Secretary Lutnick unlawfully encouraged viewers to buy Tesla. That's regarding the stock. So there is, we'll see. Because, guys, I understand, if Trump controls the Department of Justice, if he tries to control the courts, like, how does this play out? I mean, this is why we're watching it live. These people are so corrupt. I mean, it's so ridiculous. Government officials going out and telling you to buy Tesla stock is pretty nuts. On top of that, Congress, again, the Democrats are saying, like, you don't have the power to just dismantle an agency. This would only be the Congress. That's basically what Trump's trying to do. He's trying to dismantle agencies, right? Go around Congress. So, for example, this is the letter, March 20th, 2025. Dear Secretary McMahon. So that's the pro wrestler CEO who's now in charge of the Department of Secretary, charge of the Department of Education in the U.S. You got this. It says, we are writing regarding your and President Trump's ongoing actions that will have a negative impact on our kids. Today, President Trump issued an executive order unlawfully instructing you to dismantle the Department of Education, right? So we'll see how that goes. I mean, they're going to have so many fights with this stuff. On top of that, this is what Musk is tweeting out today. I guess it's a picture of Trump celebrating the death of education in America. It's like, I guess that's what we're looking at. And ironically, Elon Musk spells the word department wrong. He spells it with no T at the end, as you guys can see right there. On top of it, I know you're just like, oh my God. And this is, I see so much every single day. It's like hard to stay focused, to be honest, because like you get so distracted on like all of these insanity that's happening in the US. But you just have to put it all together that basically you got this Musk and DOGE team are trying to get all the stuff that they shouldn't have access to. That's why you got a restraining order. The judge is like, you're looking for a needle in a haystack. What's your evidence other than suspicions? Dismantling our education department, which is nuts. Tim Waltz, right? He's tweeting out something kind of funny. It was funny in the sense of like making fun of Jesse Waters. If you don't know, that was the guy that he's over on Fox News all the time saying stupid crap.
I have rules for men. They're just funny. They're not that serious. Like, you don't eat soup in public. You don't cross your legs. And you don't drink from a straw. And one of the reasons you don't drink from a straw is because the way your lips purse. It's very effeminate. And his excuse was, well, I was drinking a milkshake. Again, you shouldn't be drinking a milkshake. Milkshakes are for kids.
Yeah. Jesse was just like accusing Tim Walz of, not being man enough because Tim Walz was drinking a milkshake in a straw. That's literally the kind of stuff that the nonsense that they talk about. It's so ridiculous. Like, who watches this dumb crap? It's it's asinine, right? But it represents, unfortunately, sort of where we are in USA. This is a headline here, right? Jesse Waters says Tim Walz lacks masculinity, drinking a milkshake with a straw. If you want to watch the video, you can. And then the Lincoln Project was actually trolling Jesse. Is like, is that you, Jesse, are using straws too? It's like, that's the kind of stuff they want you to think about over at Fox, and the Trump and Musk people just talk about dumb stuff while basically they go after your money. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to like, oh, look at this dumb thing with straw. Think about straws while they go after your money. And this is sort of why we have to talk about this stuff every day. One of the Trump people looks like he was pushed out. There were a lot of complaints over the Department of Defense. I talked about this yesterday. It actually really upset me. And it even went further than I even realized. So basically, if you don't know, the Department of Defense website, they've been doing this on a lot of government websites and all other policies. They want to delete people from history, basically. And Jackie Robinson, who was the first black player in Major League Baseball, they removed him from the Department of Defense website. And if you know American history, this is an important story to American history. One of the things about Jackie Robinson, he was the officer in the military, and he refused to sit at the back of the bus, and he got actually court-martialed for that. They later, annulled the court-martial because obviously Jackie's in the right here, but he was, protesting discrimination, and then also, he was the first black player in baseball, and he was a hero to many, many Americans, and did a lot. I mean, hero to me, and did a lot for the country and the world, to be frank. And I want to make sure I emphasize this. This one I didn't even know about it. I mean, it's like I can't keep track of all the Trump stuff. They had even eliminated, they're trying to eliminate from history the Navajo code talkers. And for those of you who are history buffs, you know what we're talking about. And for those of you who are international, may not necessarily know this. So basically, you're always concerned about the enemy cracking your code, right? And you do different ways to do that. And as it turned out, like one of the strengths of America is diversity. And we had, or we have, I should say, people who, of Native American descent, Navajo, and they would use a language that like no other country could crack. Like it's just not that many people speak Navajo. And that was one of the things that really helped the Americans. And it's like, they're American too. It's just, don't erase these people from history. And so I feel bad that I left out the Navajo part, and only talked about Jackie Robinson. I didn't know about this myself. I didn't know that the website had tried to remove them from history. So I just wanted to make a special point on that. And you probably ask yourself, because I always want to try to cover everything, why does Trump want to delete Department of Education, stuff like that? This is a quote from them. Elon Musk retweeted this out just a few hours ago. According to Trump, closing Department of Education would provide children and their families the opportunity to escape a system that is failing them. Basically, what this boils down to is that they want to make it so if you're a wealthy family and you want to send your kid to private school, you're going to get tax benefits for that. The problem with this kind of thinking is that not every family out there can afford private school. Not every family out there has the choice of going to private school, depending on where you live, because some cities just, they don't have that option. Not everyone wants to go to private school. Like, what if these private schools are religious based, right? Do we want government money to go to the said things? There's a lot of issues with this. My personal opinion is that, hey, if you want to go to private school, no problem. Send your kids wherever you like, right? I got no problem with that. But it doesn't necessarily mean I want my tax dollars to go to that. Nor does it mean I want to defund education. The other issue, if you want to read through the stuff, you can. And like I said, I do read through everything. Huckabee, she put a piece in Fox News. I didn't know she was governor. It's crazy. Huckabee, if you don't know, so she's the daughter of another Huckabee, but she used to be like the spokesperson for the White House. And I'll just say this, she's not the brightest tool in the shed, or the sharpest tool, I should say. But she's basically say the same kind of stuff as like, school choice, that kind of stuff. And kind of the things that they want, according to the Trump and Musk people, is they want to, take your money, not have to follow any sort of, regulations or guidelines. And a lot of it, I think, has to do with funneling money into either private education, tax benefits for wealthy people, or funnel it to religious-based schools. And there's that. On top of that, and this is something that I just want to make it really clear, I didn't grow up with a lot of money. I'm just being honest with you guys. And I've told this guys, and I write about it in my book. And if you know my story, I lost my family at the end of the Vietnam War. And one thing that I learned in my life is that if you don't have a lot of money, or just any person at all, your worth is in your word, right? Like who you are as a person, how you treat people. And I'm bringing that up because, like, this is the headline today: Europe military powers work on a 5 to 10-year plan to replace U.S. and NATO. Basically, with someone like a Trump or a Musk, these kind of people, they don't keep their word. Like their word is worthless. And this is something that I believe in. If you want to be an honest, trustworthy person, you keep your word, right? These people, to these kind of people, that the word means nothing. And so already Europe is trying to, like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? We gotta figure out how to move on without the USA. Canada, this is a Chrystia Freeland. She wrote a piece recently and gave a speech basically saying, hey, Canada and USA have a long history of being partners. Let's not break that. Unfortunately, the USA is just not trustworthy these days with Trump and Musk. It's just being honest about this stuff. People have been asking about this. I had a chance to look through the stuff. If you don't know, this was just today. Germany updates U.S. travel advice after 3 citizens are detained. So basically, Germany's warning their people to be careful if you travel to the USA. It's not safe. That's basically what it boils down to. There was a piece in the New York Times here. This just came out about a week ago. There were tourists who were arrested at the border. Strip search. They were detained for quite a long period. I think one was 9 days, and another was like 14 days, something like that. And the border people wouldn't really make it clear why they're detaining them. And they would just like handcuff them to like a bench for some period. The other one was put in solitary confinement. I read through this stuff. I'll just say this: it's very upsetting. I'll just say that it's very upsetting. And I think, because I've read this reports about this before, that the way the Musk and Trump do this kind of stuff is they're most likely, now I don't know in this situation, but I'll just say I've read reports on this stuff, is that they're most likely giving border agents or whatever like incentives to arrest whatever people, meaning that, like, hey, if you, because I saw reports before, like, hey, if you get your quota of deporting 10 people a day or 90 people a day or whatever, you get a bonus. Like that's like when you put kind of incentives on that kind of stuff, you're going to get a lot of bad behavior in border agents, police, etc. If you guys understand what I'm saying, like think of it this way: if, like I said, hey, you have to find 10 people that are speeding, right? Just for example, in the police. And so then, police are like gonna maybe fudge the rules a bit and stuff like that. That's the kind of stuff that we're looking at. And then we're getting reports that, the Trump Musk people want to come search your house without a warrant. I mean, that's like to any just regular person, you should understand that this is extremely alarming. So I have to break down all the stuff to put it all in context. It's not just the Social Security messing with your money. It's not just messing with you at the border. It's not just messing with your education. It's like all of it. And frankly, as it boils down to, they want to keep you dumb, lock you up whenever they want, and take your money. And it's awful. This whole thing is awful. And I think it's important to stay informed in this stuff and call it out when you see it, so more people know what's going on, and don't be passive in this kind of stuff. So I do appreciate your time. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.